Before we start our sleep retreat treatment, we're going to need to place the oil into the warmer. Take 7 to 10 pumps and fill up your oil heater prior to starting the treatment. Once your client is on the bed, you're going to need a small towel underneath the larger one to cover the bust area, ready for when we do the abdomen, and a smaller towel under their head to wrap their face up. We're going to begin by taking a few drops of oil just by dipping our fingers in. Warm this oil up between your hands and ask your client to take 3 big deep breaths. Moving your hands apart for the exhale to allow the breath to travel away from the client. After the 3rd breath, place your hands on top of the client's chest and press down firmly. Draw back, gliding up the neck and stretch behind the client's ears. Move your hands up to the forehead and slowly cat stroke down the forehead and down the client's hair, ensuring a slow, light pressure, keeping the hands travelling in a methodical motion, one after the other. After you've worked your way across the forehead, place both hands above the brow. With your fingers spread, push down, release the pressure slightly and pull back, relax, and then move up. Press down, pull back, and release. Move up, press down, pull back, and release. Do this working all the way across the forehead into the hairline until you can no longer travel any further. Once you've reached the end, comb through the hair, nice and slowly, moulding your hand to the shape of the client's head. Finish with your thumbs in the centre of the brow, pull back, massaging the sides of the head as you do so, finishing with a hair pull. Then wrap the towel over the client's eyes, ensuring not to block the nose or the mouth. Once you've done this, place your eye pillow over the client's eyes to add weight. Next, we're going to cleanse our client's hands and feet. Starting with the hand furthest away from you, and you're going to lift the towel up from the end to expose the feet on your way round. Cleanse one hand, and then place the towel back over, followed by both feet. Covering with the towel before finally making your way round to the hand. The first area we're going to start on is the stomach. So we're going to pull down the larger towel and tuck this into our client's underwear. And then we're going to ensure that the shorter towel is covering the top half of them. Use the larger towel to cover the client's hands to make sure they stay warm throughout the treatment. We're going to start by using our smaller brushes and dip them into our heated oil. Make sure the brushes are saturated and that the oil is covering both of them evenly. We're going to start applying this to the stomach, working from the waist towards the belly button. Methodically working one brush at a time, nice and slowly. Once we've covered one side with oil, we're going to transition onto the other side, working up and down the waist 2 to 3 times in a slow motion. Once you've completed the waist, you're then going to work from the centre, brushing down, moving one brush up at a time to maintain contact at all times. and then finishing by working back from the waist to the centre. Keeping the brushes nice and light so that the bristles stroke the client, rotating the brushes if you need to in order to distribute the oil evenly. Once we've finished this side, we're then going to transition into a manual massage. We want to do this by placing one brush down at a time and placing our hand on seamlessly so the client cannot tell when the brushes have ended and we've started. Slowly stroke down the abdomen using your full hand in a light pressure, sweeping around at the base, creating a moon shape, and then repeat on the other side. Repeat this 2 to 3 times, and then when you've finished, place your hands at the bottom of the belly button. We're now going to slowly work round in a square around the belly button, tracing one hand after the other, using the pads of our fingertips. Following the stroke in one direction between 5 to 7 strokes, before moving on to the next direction to complete the square. Once complete, we're going to do an effleurage of the stomach. Using a light pressure, use your full hand to work up, over the rib cage, down the sides, lightly down to the hip bones, and then back together. Repeat this 3 to 4 times, nice and slowly, with a light, even pressure. Once complete, we're going to place one palm on top of the other and circle round in small circles, working around the belly button. When we finish this, we're going to do 2 to 3 effleurages of the stomach again. And then placing one hand on top of the belly button. With your other hand, reach for your hot towel. Place this over the stomach. Press down to push the heat into the client's abdomen, and then cover this with the towel and place your hand over the top. We're now going to move on to the arms. Folding the towel back and your other towel back. We're then going to dip our brushes back into the oil, spreading it evenly between the brushes, and then stroking it from the shoulder all the way down to the fingertips. Working methodically to distribute the oil. Repeat this 7 to 10 times before moving on to manually massaging the arm, trying to create a seamless transaction between your hands and the brushes. On the next stroke, I'm going to place this brush on the left hand, and I'm going to drop the other brush on the bed so that I can then use my fingertips. And then I'm going to swap and put this brush down and continue with my hands, slowly and lightly stroking the arm for 5 to 7 strokes. Once I've completed my strokes, I'm then going to massage up the tricep using a V formation, working up and over the shoulder, gliding back down, followed by the other hand. Again, using a light pressure. Repeat this 5 to 7 times to help ease achy arms. Once complete, glide down to the hand, and on the palm of the hand, use your thumb to do thumb circles around the palm of the hand. Use your other thumb to hold their thumb back to open up the palm and work round in a circle across the pads of the fingers and all the way back around. Do this 2 to 3 times, and then use both of your thumbs in a scissoring motion across the palm of the hand. And then windscreen wipe across the palm, turn the hand over, place your thumbs together along the top of the hand and pull apart. Place one hand underneath and one hand on top and pull down the arm, gliding your hands off the end of their fingertips and then continuing with your strokes. Gradually working your way up the arm until you reach the shoulder, and you're working from shoulder to fingertip. Finish with 3 final slow strokes before we cover the arm, remove the hot towel and move on to the other side. Once you finish your 3 strokes, place your hand on top of theirs, push firmly. As you go to cover the client's arm with the towel, place your other hand underneath and remove the hot towel. Run your hands along the arm and press firmly before moving on to the other side. Once we've completed both arms, we're then going to move on to the legs, working mainly on the upper thigh area. However, we are going to apply oil to the full leg. Lifting the towel up to expose one leg. You can at this point remove the shorter towel to cover your client's hands to keep them warm. If the client's legs are too close together, simply lift from the knee and stretch out and place down. We're then going to dip our larger brushes into the oil, working the oil between both brushes to ensure it's evenly distributed before placing it on at the top of the leg and working your way down. Be careful of clients who are ticklish. You may just want to work the bristles on the top of the foot. Once you've covered the full leg, you can then work in shorter sections to ensure the flow of the brushes, working from the knee to the foot, working from side to side 3 to 5 times before moving up to the upper thigh area. ensuring you're working slowly and evenly. Once you've worked both the top and bottom of the leg, then continue for your full leg strokes. After repeating this 3 to 5 times, you can then transition into your hands by placing one of the brushes down while you start the next one, and then following with your hand. Working lightly on your fingertips. Repeat this 3 to 4 times before working your way onto the upper thigh area. Slowly and lightly effleuraging the outer thigh, then using that pinching motion that we use on the top of the arm, alternating between left and right, working from the outer thigh into the centre and then to the inner thigh. Repeat this across the upper thigh 2 to 3 times. Finishing with a light effleurage of the upper leg, then continuing down to the lower part of the leg. Work over the whole leg with light pressure, effleuraging 2 to 3 times. When finished, return to your cat strokes. With light pressure and slow movement, try to make sure you don't speed yourself up as you go through the treatment. When finished, work back down the leg and finish by holding on to the foot nice and firmly and pressing your hands into each other. Cover this leg. Stretch your hands over the towel, press at either end, and then we're going to repeat that on the other leg. Once we've finished both legs, we now need to turn our client over, but first we need to remove the eye mask. Slowly removing the eye pillow. Place your hands firmly over the client's forehead, pressing down lightly, and unwrap the face. Once unwrapped, ask your client to roll away from you, lifting up the towel so they can do so, and removing the pillow as they go. Once your client is down, reposition your towels so they are comfortable and keep warm throughout the treatment. Pull their hair back, as we'll be doing a scalp massage later, and then place the towel back over their head for the comfort and pressure, and place the eye pillow back over the back of their head. We're then going to start on the backs of the legs, lifting up the towel and tucking it in, and then lift the leg up closest to you and guide it towards you. Using your smaller towel from earlier to place over the arm to keep it warm. We're then going to take our larger brushes and re-dip them into the oil. And working from the top of the leg towards the ankle, slowly applying the oil. On the back of the leg, we're going to work mainly on the lower half and the foot. Once we've completed 5 to 7 strokes with the brushes, we're going to transition into our hands. Placing one brush down as we then guide into cat strokes. Swapping with the other hand. Using a light pressure and a slow pace to work our way down. Repeating this 5 to 7 times. Once we've done so, we're going to meet at the ankle, reposition the foot and start with some ankle circles. Circle the ankle 3 to 5 times before effleuraging up the back of the leg with a light to medium pressure. Repeat this 2 to 3 times. We're then going to come down to the back of the foot, placing our thumbs at the solar plexus and pressing. We're then going to place one thumb on top of each other and slowly circle up and out, working into the arch of the foot. If your client has smaller feet and you can only use one thumb to go around, do so. We're then going to circle along the bottom of the toes, using the base of your thumb to push and circle at the bottom of each toe. And placing the pads of your thumbs on top and pulling apart. We're then going to place one hand underneath the foot to support it, using our fist to knuckle into the sole of the foot. We're then going to massage down the outside from the little toe up to the heel, using our thumb in small circles, working round and working up towards the heel. Do this 2 to 3 times, and once complete, do an effleurage of the full leg, including the foot. When you've done your effleurages, complete this leg with your cat strokes, working over the leg 10 to 15 times, lightly and slowly stroking, working your way up the leg. When complete, cup the foot, apply pressure, keep one hand on the foot while you cover with the towel, and then press along the leg, removing your hand and gliding across. And then we're going to move on to repeat this on the other leg. Once both legs are completed, we're then going to move on to the back. We're going to pull the towel down, tuck this into the client's underwear, and undo their bra if necessary. We're then going to remove our eye pillow and start with our smaller brushes, dipping them into the warm oil, distributing it evenly between the brushes. Starting at the head of the client in the centre of the back. Work from the lower back up towards the neck. Working slowly and methodically along the back, using between 15 to 20 strokes to distribute the oil. When getting near the neck, you can work this all the way up and into the hairline, as we're going to do a scalp massage afterwards. When you've completed your 15 to 20 strokes, we're then going to transition into our cat strokes with our hands. We're going to place a brush down and then use our fingertips to lightly glide up. Again, work across the body, doing this in 10 to 15 strokes. Once you've completed your cat strokes, we're going to do an effleurage from the top of the back, starting with both hands gliding up the neck, working down towards the lower back, separating, coming down the sides and then drawing back up, separating across the shoulders, scooping up and under, and then back up to the hairline. Going back down, separating at the hips, drawing up the waist, separating back at the shoulders, coming underneath into the hairline. We're going to repeat this 3 to 5 times. Before then coming to the back of the neck. We're going to slowly stroke up the back of the neck, pulling on the hair as we go up and dropping the towel to the floor. Working from across the shoulders and up the neck, getting a nice stretch with a medium to firm pressure across our scalp to ensure it doesn't tickle the client. When both hands arrive at the back of the hairline, with a medium pressure, start your shampooing technique, working slowly from the back of the hairline into the centre of the head. Once you reach the crown of the head, we're then going to place one hand behind one ear and then the other hand behind the other ear, shampooing again towards the centre of the head. Once we reach the middle, we're then going to place one hand at the front of the head and the other hand working from the hairline back towards the crown of the head. We're then going to cat stroke out the hair with a little lift and pull as we reach the end. We're then going to place the thumbs into the nape of the neck, slowly and firmly drag down and off. Repeating this 3 times. We're then going to work behind the ears into the hairline of the pressure points and circle back and forth in the hairline behind the ears, working our way down to the front of the ear and then pulling back on the hair. We're then going to comb the hair using the fronts of our fingers as we insert our hand, placing the hand all the way down to the top of the head, ensuring you keep the full length of your fingers in contact with the scalp applying a medium pressure. When we remove our hand, we're going to lift it up and out so that we don't knot our client's hair or pull it too firmly, rather than continuing all the way down, which would be uncomfortable for the client. Once we've worked over the head 2 to 3 times, we're then going to go back to our cat strokes, working our way down the back, over and including the head. Using 15 to 20 strokes, working from the shoulders and then continuing to the waist and the lower back, getting slower and lighter with your pressure as you continue. Once you've finished, place both hands up onto the back of the head and press down onto the crown. Get hold of what hair you can, twist it and give it a firm pull before releasing. Pull the towel back up and over, across the shoulders, press along the client's back, and the treatment's now complete.